Welcome to the deep dive. For many of you in the defense contracting world, tackling compliance,
Hmm.
especially with things like CMMC, it can really feel like you're lost in a maze.
Absolutely. You're juggling contracts, protecting sensitive info, and then bam, this web of requirements hits you.
Exactly. And the tools usually suggested, these big governance, risk, and compliance systems, GRC, right?
Hmm.
They seem comprehensive.
Seem being the key word sometimes.
Yeah, but they can almost add more confusion, can't they? Especially if you've got a deadline and your focus is really just CMMC.
That's such a common feeling. It's like
Yeah.
you had this very specific goal, maybe CMMC level 1 or 2, and the tool feels huge, overwhelming even.
Makes you wonder if it's the most efficient path.
Right. Is this broad approach really the best way to get that specific thing done?
So that's what we're digging into today. We're going to look at a different angle, specifically Simple C.
Okay.
Now, look, we're not here to pick a winner. The goal is just to understand how Simple C offers an alternative, one that's really tailored for those key CMMC levels.
Yeah, to break down how it compares to the traditional GRC approach.
Focusing on what actually matters for getting compliant efficiently. That's our mission today.
And efficiently is the key word there, I think. Time, resources.
Yeah.
They're always tight, right? Especially for maybe smaller or mid-sized contractors.
Definitely. Wrestling a complex system for a defined goal, that's draining.
It really is. So maybe let's start with the traditional GRC systems. What exactly are they trying to do? What's their main purpose?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Traditional GRC platforms, they're generally built to handle compliance across a whole bunch of regulations. Think ISO standards, IIPA, GDPR. It's not just CMMC.
Right, a much wider net.
Yeah, they usually give you a central dashboard, like a control panel to see your overall status, plus places to store documents, manage workflows, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Their strength is that wide, integrated view. They're built for companies juggling multiple compliance needs at once.
So you get this bird's eye view of risk across the whole organization.
Hmm.
Policy management, assigning tasks, tracking audits, all in one spot.
And a big part of that is the ongoing monitoring. That's really fundamental to them.
Always watching, basically. Keeping tabs on security risks and whether you're sticking to all those different rules.
Yeah, the idea is to have this constant pulse check on your risk situation.
Which, sounds pretty good.
It does. And they're also built for data collection and risk reporting, pulling data from different places, crunching it, giving you that high-level risk assessment.
Okay, but here's where it might get tricky for someone focused just on CMMC, right? That high-level report. It might not tell you exactly what's wrong.
That's a really good point. You might see there's a problem area, but does it pinpoint the specific CMMC control that's failing?
Or crucially, what you need to do to fix it. It's like getting a checkup result saying something's off, but not getting the diagnosis or the prescription.
Excellent analogy. Yeah, that granularity might be missing. You get the big picture, but the actionable steps for this specific CMMC requirement, maybe not so clear.
Which, if you're under pressure to pass an assessment, isn't ideal. You're still left searching.
Exactly. And another big piece seems to be the manual input.
Oh, yeah. Even with fancy dashboards, getting all the evidence in there, that sounds like a job in itself.
It often is. You're pulling things from, I don't know, spreadsheets, emails, various systems,
Yeah.
and then manually uploading or typing it all into the GRC
And keeping it updated.
and keeping it updated. It takes time, and, humans make mistakes. It can become this constant cycle of data entry.
So, summing up traditional GRC, it gives you the wide view, the continuous monitoring, broad data, good for complex needs.
Right.
But for just achieving CMMC compliance, maybe not the most direct path. You get the map, but you still have to figure out the exact route yourself, often with a lot of manual effort.
Well put. They provide the framework, but you do a lot of the filling in,
Hmm.
which naturally makes you ask, is there another way? Especially for just CMMC.
And that brings us to Simple C. It's positioned very differently, isn't it?
Very much so. It's presented as hyper-focused, specifically on CMMC Level 1 and Level 2, not trying to be everything to everyone.
That focus alone seems like a major difference.
It is. Because it's only looking at CMMC, it can tailor everything, features, workflows, directly to those specific requirements. And a big part of that is automated compliance documentation.
Okay, automated documents, like the SFP, the System Security Plan, and POA&Ms. That sounds useful. How does that work?
So instead of starting with a blank template and trying to figure out what CMMC needs, it uses this quiz-style interface.
A quiz. Interesting.
Yeah. It asks you structured questions about your security setup, your practices, your systems. You answer the questions, and based on your answers, It generates the SSP or POA&M for you.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like it could save a massive amount of time. Yeah, cut down on errors too, presumably.
That's the idea. Instead of you manually compiling everything, hoping you didn't miss a detail, the system guides you and builds the document from your input.
So the effort shifts from formatting and structuring the document to just accurately answering questions about your own environment.
Exactly, which frees you up to actually focus on the security controls themselves.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you also mentioned simple gap assessments. How is that different from finding gaps in a big GRC report?
Well, like we said, with traditional GRC, finding those specific CMMC gaps can sometimes mean digging through broader reports. It can be a bit manual, a bit time-consuming.
Right.
Simple C, being CMMC focused, can be much more direct. It essentially walks you through the CMMC controls and immediately flags where your answers indicate you don't meet a requirement.
So it gives you a clear list, like here are the specific CMMC things you need to work on.
Precisely. An actionable list right away, which leads directly to the next point. Actionable remediation suggestions.
Ah, so it doesn't just say you have a gap here.
No, that's the key difference highlighted. Finding the gap is step one. Knowing what to do about it is step two, and arguably the more critical step.
Which traditional GRC sometimes leaves you guessing on, right? Okay, we're non-compliant here, now what?
Exactly. Simple C aims to bridge that. It identifies the gap and gives you guidance on how to fix it. It might point to specific controls you need to implement, policies to update, concrete steps.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially if you don't have a dedicated compliance expert in-house.
Absolutely. It's like
Yeah.
having a guide who not only points out the pothole, but tells you how to patch it.
Okay, so automated docs, simple gap assessments, actual remediation help. What else? You mentioned real-time reporting.
Right. So contrast that with maybe generating a GRC report. That report is a snapshot in time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's static. As soon as something changes, it's outdated.
Exactly. You have to rerun it or manually update things.
Mhm.
Simple C, being more dynamic and focused, aims to keep its dashboards updated in real time. As you fix things, your progress shows up.
So you always have a current view of where you stand with CMMC. No waiting, no generating new reports constantly.
That's the goal. Instant visibility, which can also be pretty motivating, seeing that progress bar move.
I can see that. And it's cloud-based with easy updates. How does that help?
Well, cloud means accessible anywhere, easier updates generally. But specifically, the ability to, say, copy your previous assessment work and just update the changes for the next one. That's a big time saver.
Ah, so for reassessments or if CMMC rules change slightly, you're not starting over from scratch.
Right. You leverage what you've already done. Less repetitive manual work.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, there was one more feature that sounded quite different, the Hire a Pro option.
Yeah, this one's interesting. It acknowledges that sometimes you just need a human expert, right?
Sure, the platform can't solve every nuanced question.
Exactly. So this feature connects users directly with certified CMMC consultants, but on demand, as needed.
Meaning, no expensive long-term retainer contracts.
That seems to be the key benefit. You pay for help when you actually need it, maybe for a tricky question or complex remediation advice. It makes expert help more accessible, especially for smaller businesses.
Like having an expert on call, but only paying when you make the call. That's practical.
Very practical. It adds that human touch point without the massive upfront commitment. So, tying this back to CMMC specifically.
Right, the context. CMMC is about protecting CUI, controlled unclassified information.
Yep. And the point made is that achieving compliance, especially levels 1 and 2, isn't always about super deep technical wizardry or managing massively complex systems.
It's more about having the right controls in place and documenting them properly.
Largely, yes. Demonstrating you have the required safeguards and you follow procedures.
Yeah.
And in that specific context.
A big, broad, traditional GRC platform might be overkill.
That's the argument. It offers features way beyond L1, L2 needs, which could actually cause confusion or waste resources, like using that Pro Video Editor for a simple trim.
Yeah, makes the simple task feel complex.
Whereas Simple C, being streamlined just for CMMC, aims to give you that clear, direct path without the extra baggage.
So practicality versus complexity.
That's a good way to put it.
Mm.
Traditional GRC manages broad complexity. Simple C focuses on practical CMMC achievement.
Okay, so the core takeaway seems clear. For diverse multi-regulation needs, traditional GRC is powerful.
Absolutely.
But for defense contractors, MSPs, really zeroing in on CMMC level 1 or 2, Simple C presents itself as a much more focused, efficient tool.
Yeah, automating key parts, giving clear guidance, aiming to get you certified faster, and hopefully with less pain.
It really boils down to picking the right tool for the job.
Exactly. One's a multi-tool, one's a specialized instrument.
So for you listening, as you think about your own CMMC journey, what are the biggest hurdles you're facing right now? And how might a more streamlined, focused approach, like the one we've discussed with Simple C, potentially change your strategy or even your timeline?
It's worth pondering that balance, isn't it?
Hmm.
Comprehensive oversight versus focused, fast action. Where do your specific needs fall?